Moving on now to the 16th of February.
So my name's Mark Williams-Thomas. I'm a former police detective and I'm now an investigator, and I work across lots of cases reviewing murder investigations, disappearances, and that's what's brought me here. I've been in contact with the family and they've specifically asked me, very gratefully, if I could come up and have a look.
You see, he was asked to come up there by the family or Paul, and this is showing no confidence in the police, or you want to throw the police off.
Peter Fording is a very close friend of mine and we've worked very closely together over the last few days.
Having spent a few days in St Michael's, what is your opinion of what happened to Nicola? What is the most likely scenario?
Well, there are three hypotheses, not just one, there are three, and that is that Nicola came here and that she ended up in the water, which is of course has been the police's main hypothesis, but there are two others, that she left voluntarily on her own for whatever reason, things in her life, and the third one of course is the most sinister, that there was a third party involvement.
Looking at the police investigation, what mistakes do you think were made and what would you have done differently if you had been leading the investigation?
Well, I think there's two key elements here, and that is the media strategy and what's been going on behind the scenes by the senior investigating officer. There is no doubt that their strategy right from the very beginning was to deal with this as a high-risk missing person, and as a result they didn't treat this as a crime scene. What they looked at is trying to identify and find her as quickly as possible, and their theory quite clearly was that she ended up in the water either voluntarily or by accident. And no one's really speaking about it, but very clearly, because of her high-risk status, they thought that she may well have taken her own life.
And that's from the information they received from her partner, Paul.
The reality is, though, is that could she have gone in this water and committed suicide? And what I would say is that that is almost impossible. How did she end up in a depth in the middle where she could end up dying? Because if she'd come down the side here, it's so short, so shallow, she couldn't have died.
How has Nicola's vulnerability affected the investigation?
Nicola's vulnerability has now become a major issue, and it's very detrimental to the family. The family are now in turmoil. The last 24 hours for them have been horrific because the police decided yesterday to release that she was a high-risk misper. Why they decided to do it at that point, I really don't know.
Well, obviously it was after the information that Mark received that the police felt under pressure to do it.
What they should have done is done it on day one. Get rid of all the speculation, dealt with it, had a very clear strategy with Paul, how they were going to deal with this. Nicola's got issues in her life. We all have issues in our life. That doesn't mean to say that she is any less vulnerable than anybody else.
Exactly. And it doesn't mean that she can't be a victim of crime just because of her vulnerabilities.
In terms of the process of what could have happened to her, i.e. third party. Now I worry that there is a position that it's impacted so massively on the family. I also worry, of course, in relation to Nicola, if she is still alive, what's the impact on her to come back?
Well, if she was still alive, and the impact of her coming back would be felt hard by her, because the family gave the police permission to go with that information. And someone close to the family released that information to Mark.
Say she was listening to this. But more significantly, the criticism the police have received gives us less confidence and faith in the police service, which is at an all-time low.
It's like it was planned to put out that information and force the police to put it out and make everyone go against the police. Don't get me wrong, the police done a lot of things wrong, and I will get to them in the next video.
They got this media strategy totally wrong, and I know that because I've spoken to them in the press department, and they acknowledge that. They've acknowledged they've made major failings.
I guess that's just off record though, isn't it?
Their performance yesterday was shocking. Not only in the fact that they released that she was a high-risk misper at the press conference and then refused to explain what that was about. How did they think that they could release a piece of information like that and journalists, investigators weren't going to say, what are you talking about? And as that built up over the day, and when I spoke to the police yesterday, before lunch, and I said to them, listen, I've got information that something has gone on within the family environment, that there has been emergency service at the address. What are you going to do about this? Can you please confirm that that's true or not?
I wonder, did Mark even realise here that his question like what the outcome was going to be with this question, because why would he find it strange that they came out and made this press conference, but yeah, he knew he was after asking that question? I just find it strange. I feel like Mark was played here too, and he didn't even realise it. But I wonder, whoever gave him that information, did they realise? I'd say they did realise what the reaction was going to be.
And as a result of that, they then, early afternoon, evening, released that information to say that there have been issues in Nicola's life. But we mustn't forget all of that. It is really important. It should have been released earlier. Nicola is still missing, and what we need to do is find her.
If the police are unable to ever explain what happened to her, where does that leave Lancashire Police?
Well, it leaves, first and foremost, the family in turmoil. They don't have Nicola, they can't mourn, they can't move on in that process, and of course her young children are in a position they never know what's happened to their mum. So that's the first and the most important thing. What it impacts on the Lancashire Police is that they need now to go right back to the very beginning in terms of their media strategy, externally look at it and go, do you know what, we got it completely wrong. Let's not make this mistake again. And it will happen. There will be other major investigations they have to deal with. Let's not make that mistake again, learn from it, put in place changes. And I think in terms of their back end element, what they mustn't do is become focused too early on one scenario.
Back to the investigation, the fact that the dog was walking between the bench and the gate, does that give us any indications where Nicola may have gone?
I think it is. I think it's really significant. It's only when you come to the scene that you actually understand, and that's why it's so important as an investigator always to come back to the scene. I call this a crime scene. That's how we talk about it. And what's really significant is the police have said it is unlikely, and their theory is that she hasn't left the area. But let's be very clear about that. It is impossible to say that. And I'll tell you why. Because the route in, which is across the bridge from where she left her car, down the path and through this gate here, is exactly the same route that she could have taken out of here, because there is no CCTV on any of this route. She could have left here either her own free will and got into perhaps a car, someone supporting her, or left on her own free will, and she would not have been seen.
I feel like Mark's mind was tainted here by the information he received from the family and about the vulnerabilities when he's talking about her walking away herself or getting into the car with help and stuff like that. No mention of third party then.
So for the police to say with certainty that she hasn't left the area is absolutely wrong. There are two scenarios here. One, she went in the water, but not here, much further downstream where it is tidal and where it's deeper, or she left on her own free will and she's either gone away from this area or she's fairly close nearby.
As you see here, he gives two scenarios now, that she either went into the river further down or she went away voluntarily. Because before he had met the family and heard about the vulnerabilities, he was open to the possibility that there were several different theories. And that's the difference here between Mark and Peter. Peter wouldn't let anything like that persuade him away from what his expert opinion is.
If you were leading the investigation now, how would you proceed in the next few days?
Well, I think there's a number of things. First of all, I'd talk to the family and I'd get Paul to give a press conference. I'd get Paul to talk to the public and open up his heart in terms of how difficult it's been for him and the family, and let's get some sympathy back for Nicola.
The sympathy wasn't lost for Nicola by the public. In fact, it actually made it greater, because everybody's seen how her family and that thrown her under the bus.
She's gone through torment, as many people do in parts and times of their life. Let's get that back in tune. Let's stop calling her, people have alcohol dependency. It doesn't make them a bad person. What it means is they've got issues in their life. Let's get a press conference. Let's get Paul talking to the public. Let's get the public back on side. That's first and foremost. And as far as the investigation goes, what I would now do is I would move away from the water here, it's no relevance here. I think they've probably exhausted all the elements downstream, and if she ends up turning up, then we'll find her. I would put searches in the whole of the locality around here. I'd go back out and I'd start appealing to the public. Is there anybody there who's got another piece of information that could fill this jigsaw puzzle? Because if she is still alive, and there's a big if of course sadly, if she is still alive, someone will be helping her.
So if it was a plan to get everyone away from the river at this stage, it was perfect timing, because not long after that, her body ends up being found in the river. But it's probably just one of those many coincidences in this case. Now, moving on to the family statement that was released on the same day, on the 16th of February. Now, I don't know if this was done as a family as a whole, or in part, some of the family. But if it was the whole family, it makes me feel sad. The family said, "It has now been 3 weeks since Nikki went missing. We as a family believe that the public focus has become distracted from finding Nikki, and more about the speculation and rumours into her and Paul's private life." Now, I don't know what they were expecting here, because the minute you start using media and social media and all that, like, these things are going to happen. If people are concerned enough, they will start looking into things themselves to see, is everything okay? As a family, we were aware beforehand that Lancashire Police last night released a statement with some personal details about our Nikki. You see here, they gave permission for the police to go ahead with it. Although we know that Nikki would not have wanted this, there are people out there speculating and threatening to sell stories about her. This is appalling and needs to stop. Now, this I don't believe at all. I don't believe that there was someone threatening to sell stories about her about this 10th of January incident. As I said, I believe it was someone closer to home that gave this information. Now, either they were given it because someone asked them to paint a picture, or this person genuinely seen this happening and was concerned about it after her going missing. I'm more inclined to think it was someone doing it for a reason, that wanted the information out there. If it was somebody that was threatening to sell stories, surely they would have went to all the different media outlets, the mainstream media, and could have got paid for it. So I don't believe at all that they were just threatening to sell stories. But the biggest thing is here, that why would the family put their names to this? If they were thinking that Nicola was out there, why put their names to this and go behind Nicola's back and throw her under the bus like that? This makes me both angry and sad at the same time. That poor Nikki was already ganged up on by her partner and her sister on the 10th of January, and felt like she couldn't even talk to her sister after that. What could she even confide in her if she took the side of her partner and done that, tried to have her sectioned, and took the risk that it looked bad if she ever had a custody case with her children or anything like that? I really hope her parents weren't involved in this statement. It was bad enough for her partner and her sister, but I really hope her parents didn't let her down like that. So next they said, the police know the truth about Nikki, and now the public need to focus on finding her. Another strange thing to say about her. The police know the truth about Nikki. What does that even mean? Due to the perimenopause, Nikki suffered with significant side effects such as brain fog, restless sleep, and was taking HRT to help with this. But it was giving her intense headaches, which caused Nikki to stop taking the HRT, thinking that may have helped her, but it only ended up causing the crisis. So here they're blaming Nikki for stopping taking the HRT, and it ended up causing the crisis. This is horrible, victim blaming, blaming herself for all of this. I can't believe they even thought like this about Nicola. Like that she would even walk away from her children and her beloved Willow. Next, the public focus has to be on finding her and not making up wild theories about her personal life. Well, you can see from this video when I put all the stuff together that was out there, where a lot of the theories had came from. Despite what some media outlets and individuals are suggesting, we are being updated daily and receive support from our family liaison officers. Nikki is such a wonderful daughter, sister, partner and mother, and is missed dearly. We all need you back in our lives. Nikki, we hope you are reading this and know that we love you so much and your girls want a cuddle. We all need you home. You can reach out to us or you can contact missingpeople.org.uk. Don't be scared. We love you so very much. If Nicola had have been out there, I don't think scared would have been what she was feeling. I'd say it would have been shame after all of that being said about her. So also on the 16th of February, Nadia Fell, Nicola's friend, puts up another Facebook post. She said, so the rumours are starting, saying Nikki is an unfit mum. Angry face, angry face. She's been slagged off. People are saying the girls aren't safe around her. Feck off. How dare you? Angry face, angry face, angry face. I will not hear it. Now, I don't know what rumours she's talking about because I never seen anybody saying anything like that about Nikki being an unfit mum or, that the girls weren't safe around her. But the only person that was painting her that way was her partner Paul. He was painting her that way about her drinking alcohol and her menopause and, thinking that she had ran off and left them. And also called out a mental health team because she was drinking too much. So she goes on to say, Nikki is the most amazing mum ever. Those girls are her world. Many a time my daughter B has spent time with Nikki without me, and I've trusted her without question. Why wouldn't I? I've never seen any red flags. Nikki is a normal mum. Just back off, please. We all have our ups and downs, and being a mum is hard. I should know. I have 4. These kids don't come with a bloody manual, And girls, wow, don't get me started. I have 3. Every day is a lesson. The menopause can be really tough. Please just stop. # bring Nikki home. She starts off saying that Nikki is not an unfit mum, but then goes on to say Nikki is a normal mum. Just back off. We all have our ups and downs, and being a mum is hard. They don't come with a bloody manual. There she is thinking about it anyway, about them saying, well, she's thinking someone saying unfit mum, but yet she's going on to explain about how hard it is being a mum. The stresses of being a mum and all that. So, she's still pointing that direction about the stressful being a mum. Grizzly True Crime also done a video on the 16th of February where she goes on to talk about the perimenopause. And she said she felt like it was like tabloid headlines. She goes on to talk about the statement from the family, and when they had said causing the crisis, well, she seemed to stop in her tracks when she read out that bit. It's like she was thinking about it. She tells someone in the comment that she had looked at a few of these missing persons databases in the UK, and she just can't see Nicola's case on there. If you find it, please send it to me because I'd love to see it on an official missing persons database. So she then talks about in the family statement when they're calling out to Nicola that you can reach out to us or you can contact missingpeople.org.uk and don't be scared. We all love you so very much. And she said based on that, she wonders if they think that Nicola left voluntarily and is hiding out somewhere or staying with someone. I don't know, but it's just, I'm really glad that they still have so much hope. Because, I mean Nicola could still be found alive and will come home to family. She talks about the village talk, and she believes that there's talk going around that a scream was heard after 9:33 a.m. She talks about emails that she received about Paul changing his name on Facebook to Sam Beckett from Quantum Leap. The series where Sam Beckett gets trapped and never sees his wife again. And she said that maybe it's just a troll account, because remember the police actually said at the press conference that if you see Nicola Bulley's accounts active, then just know that they are busy looking into them. So she then says apparently it is his account, his real account, because she looked into it. So that Paul really did change his profile to Sam Beckett. Someone sent her screenshots of areas of the river where it's shallow and where it's deep and where you could cross over. She talks about the derelict house and how they checked the entire boundary line, but she really wished they checked that barn, because of the person who came forward who said they saw a tatty red van outside that barn. But the person who owned the barn said they rent it out, and whoever's there they would be up to no good if they were there. And that person said that they don't know anyone who owns a red van. But yet, in doing some digging, they actually do, because their family is connected to a gun club, and there's 2 red vans, tatty red vans too. It's not just any brand new red van. They're shabby red vans. And they're connected to that family. She talked about what the police had released in the press conference, and that they had attended Nicola's home a week before she went missing after a report of concern for welfare, and no one has been arrested in relation to this incident, but it is being investigated. Police said in an unusual step, they had chose to reveal that Paul had disclosed that she suffered from issues with alcohol. So maybe that's what you guys were asking earlier. Someone asked earlier, did the police release the information? But they got the information from Paul to clarify. And based on the welfare check as well on January the 10th, that would have probably had some official paperwork and, nurses, law enforcement and that. On to the 17th of February now, and Grizzly True Crime is going over the Sky News walk in Nicola's shoes. She talks a lot about Ron here, or Roger, and about his interview with the Sky News journalist. She questions a lot of the same stuff all of us would have questioned at the time. She goes on to say that based on things the family friends have told her, that the person they refer to him as Ron, the dog walker, do you know who he is? You're like, is this Mr. Grumpy, or Penny's husband? Penny's husband has died a while ago. And the person they just spoke to, meaning Ron, is Penny, the caravan park owner's brother-in-law, which makes it very interesting to think about that, because it isn't the elderly man with a white fluffy dog. She's back talking about the caravan park people now, and she's questioning the timeline. But she said she's not trying to throw a red flag at the caravan park people. She just thinks that they have critical information, which could be very helpful, and maybe they don't know how critical that is. She said, I must say that from all the reports, from what the brother-in-law says, from what the daughter-in-law says, and from what Penny says to the media, none of these stories are matching up, and that's a little bit of a concern for her. They could maybe all sit on a couch and tell the story of what happened, and how did it happen? Why is it so vague? Why is it still so big? The police as well keep it very, very vague. So I'm just still concerned, because it might be that there's clues there, and it might be answers to this mystery. She talks about the man with the white fluffy dog, and maybe he has more to say, and maybe he's scared to say it. I don't know. And also when he said through his wife, remember his wife spoke to the media? Not him, his wife said, yeah, he said everything was normal and there were about 3 people in the field. She mentions that Penny's daughter-in-law is Facebook friends with Nicola, and that maybe they had been messaging each other in the past. So it was also around this time that Grizzly True Crime put up a post on Twitter under her Gizla K account. And it was a picture of Ron, aka Roger. Not Michael Bowman, not Oliver Fletcher. This is Roger, aka Rog/Ron. Maybe dig yourself to see where he lives. Do not dox this man, but it gets interesting. From now on, my lips are sealed, because apparently being South African means I know nothing and have no sources. So in one sense, she's asking people to dig themselves into where this man lives, but also in the same sentence saying do not dox this man, so don't put where he lives up online, but to dig into it. Like, that was opening it up for people to go looking into them again, in that area. But she never did give any information of what relevance that had to Nicola's disappearance. Moving on now to the 17th of February and the chaos that ensued after the information of Nicola's vulnerabilities being released. All the media outlets were going on about it. Suella Braverman, Rishi Sunak. It was all being talked about. Ex-police officers. You name it, everyone was talking about it. We're all disgusted by it and thought it was sexist. So I'll read out an article in the Mirror UK, because it has several things in it about what was going on at that time. It started off by talking about Nicola's last text message that she sent just before she disappeared. A friend who lives in the village, who did not wish to be named, told the Mirror she booked a play date at 8:47 a.m. She sent a text message to a friend whose mortgage she had just recently signed off on to arrange for the girls to go for tea this week. The friend said this indicates she had no intention of voluntarily disappearing. You wouldn't have done that if you were going to get up and go missing, she added. She said the information was revealed during a meeting at the village hall on Sunday morning at around 10:30 a.m. before residents headed out on their first mass organised search. You see, not everyone in the village believed that she would just up and go. The revelation comes as Lancashire Police is set to conduct an internal review into their investigation on Miss Bulley's disappearance. The force confirmed the date had been set for the review, which will be conducted by their head of crime, Detective Chief Superintendent Pauline Stables. Police came under fire for what was labelled a sexist error when they disclosed information about Miss Bulley's struggles with alcohol and the menopause. Former Victims Commissioner Dame Vera Baird told BBC Radio 4's Today programme she believed the force had made a dreadful error in releasing details of the missing mother of two's vulnerabilities. A source close to the Home Secretary said Suella Braverman was concerned and demanded an explanation from police on Thursday. The Independent Office for Police Conduct said it had received a referral from the force regarding the contact officers had with Miss Bulley on the 10th of January before she went missing. In a statement confirming the internal review, a police spokeswoman said, a review of the investigation is diarised and will be conducted by our head of crime, Detective Chief Superintendent Pauline Stables. She is also a PIP4 accredited and has attended the National Reviewer course. Information Commissioner John Edwards said he will be asking Lancashire Police about its decision to disclose Miss Bulley's struggles with alcohol and HRT. He said in a statement, data protection law exists to ensure people's personal information is used properly and fairly. This includes ensuring personal details are not disclosed inappropriately. Given the high-profile nature of this case, we will be asking Lancashire Police to set out how they reached the decision to disclose this information in due course. The decision by the force to reveal details of Miss Bulley's vulnerabilities had earlier been criticised by MPs and campaign groups. The Conservative Police and Crime Commissioner for Lancashire, Andrew Snowden, said the police was being as transparent as they can be following the press conference. So you see the anger and outrage and the amount of people that came out, like even up to the Prime Minister, about all of this and the chaos it created. And I wondered why the police would do that. Surely they knew what the reaction would be. Like, they know the laws, so surely they knew what the reaction would be when they put out that information. So it really does look like their hand was forced to put out that information, that they had no other choice. But why did somebody want that information to get out there so badly? Did somebody want chaos around the police? Because it surely does look like that. To create a distraction around the police. I wonder, did the police even realise that they were being played? Also on the 17th of February, Louise, Nicola's sister, puts up a Facebook post. 3 weeks today without you home. We all miss you so much. Time to come home now. Just showing more and more that she believes that Nicola ran off. Also on the 17th of February, Grizzly True Crime puts up another live. And she goes on again about Ron and the caravan park. She talks about the CCTV images and that normally the police would release the CCTV images, but it was Emma that had to release the images. And apparently Emma's dad is quite a powerful dude in the media. And so maybe that's why she released it to, the media connections that they have. I'm just thinking now that could be why Paul kept Emma so close. Because she had great connections to the media through her dad. But also her sister or half-sister or stepsister, whatever she is, Hannah Swale, her mother-in-law, Anne Swale, was on the council. But also Emma was friends with Dan Walker before the interview, so it made it very comfortable for Paul. And strange that the family interview wasn't done by Dan Walker. So Emma could have been a benefit to Paul having her around and having her leading the campaign to find Nicola. She then talks about the tatty red van and about the man taking a while to come forward about that. And that his family was meant to have had tatty red vans. Well, the friend that she was in contact with of Paul and Nicola, the close friend, said he went for a little drive-by earlier just to check is that van still there. And it belongs to a gun club. And it's there, that red van is there, and he owns the company. And the red van is right there. And for him to come forward and say, yep, no, I don't know anyone with a red van, and whoever was out at the barn, they're up to no good. He says he rents out the barn. She said that the whole story to her is still weird, right? Very strange to her. That's a little bit of a red flag. I don't know what's going on there with the gun club and the two tatty red vans that they have associated to the gun club, and why this guy came forward. We have to look at that sometime, who's coming forward and inserting themselves in the case and why. Now, first of all, I want to say about this. It wasn't just that man that came forward that owns the barn and rents it out. Two witnesses came forward that seen that tatty red van at that barn. Two different witnesses. And a third person, the man that owns the barn, he came forward and said if there was a van out there, they would be up to no good. Now, what I find really, really weird is the fact that Paul's friend, close friend that's talking to Grizzly True Crime, felt the need to go out and find red vans and disprove the theory about the red van. I find that really strange. He'd be going out trying to find the red vans to find who owns it and is there something suspicious going on. But no, this is he went out to disprove that theory. Surely, if he really wanted to find out about the red van, he would have got the gun club to issue a statement to the police that they could further issue a statement that it was their red van that was there. But why discount the two witnesses that seen the red van. And this man said he doesn't know anyone with a red van that would be out there at the barn. But just put it this way. If Paul's friend was right and a red van was acting suspicious at the barn, but it belonged to the gun club, what's the chances that not only was a red van belonging to a gun club that goes shooting, but on the far side at the entrance, there was two fishermen acting strange? What's the chances of all of that happening? How can the police not see all these things? Like, if everybody else is able to see all these things, how come they can't see it? Also on the 17th of February, on the Friday, police moved their search down to the village of Hambleton, near Shard Bridge. They were out with search dogs and binoculars and stuff like that. They were searching all that area. Then on Saturday, the 18th of February, the day before Nicola's body was found, a police helicopter was hovering over the Shard Bridge in Hambleton, 7 miles downstream from where Nicola had disappeared. Local residents of Hambleton had taken videos and pictures of the helicopter there on the Saturday. But very strange was the fact that when the police had moved down to 7 miles downstream from where Nicola disappeared, the next day her body is found only a mile away from where she last disappeared. While the police had just gone past that area, was gone down 7 miles down away from that area, and nobody around, and then her body is found. Another strange coincidence? Or was it because the area was so quiet now, you can put the body back into the river? And if it was quiet enough during the day, you can only imagine how quiet it was at night time in that area. But not only that, media had picked up that Andy Lawson had kind of pointed that they'd be scaling back the operation. There was nothing from Grizzly True Crime on the 18th. And a lot of the media was going on about, what the police had done wrong. But in an exclusive, the express.co.uk put out that Paul's account had been hacked, his Pinterest account. And online trolls were blamed for putting up sexually explicit pictures of women. Now, could this just be another coincidence? Or could it have been planned to make people feel sorry for Paul? Now, while doing this video, I couldn't believe my luck, because a friend sent me a message on Facebook that Michaela had put up a post regarding all of this phone hacking or this account hacking with Paul. And by God, does she go into some detail about all of this. And I really, really recommend that everybody take a look at this. So I will be putting a link in the description for everyone to take a look at what Mickey had to say about this. And she really goes into detail and found out a lot of things. There's literally zero I could add to it. I could look into it a bit more myself, and probably will down the line, but just to be nosy. But it's very interesting. And I'm going to follow Mickey now because it seems really interesting, her stuff that she's coming out with. And fair play to her for digging deep on that. Like, the more people get stuff out, the better chances that Nicola has of getting justice in the future. Moving on now to Sunday, the 19th of February. A devastating day for so many people when Nicola's body was found. Now, as we know now, Nicola was found by two people, and one of them was Jason Dean Rothwell, who claims to be a psychic medium spiritualist. Now, he put up a Facebook post to say that it was him that found the body and that his abilities led him to finding her. But he also couldn't say who the woman's body was. So, how could you be led to find somebody if you don't know who the body belongs to? And a lot of people thought at the time that perhaps somebody had called him and told him where they could find a body. Like, could it be just a coincidence that he drove such a long distance on the same day that her body was floating in that river? But I don't think it's a coincidence that he was there that day in particular. Now, I'm not saying there's not people out there that possess psychic abilities, because there probably is. Like, I've seen many true crime programs where people have used their psychic abilities to help in cases. It was mainly American ones, but I have seen them. And some of them I find very interesting, and it really seems believable. But in this case, with Jason Dean Rothwell, I'm not buying it. So remember earlier in the video, I pointed out that Heather Gibbons and Nadia shared a post on a psychic, and Heather had spoke to them. Well, you're also going to hear something else regarding psychics that's coming up in the video. And I need you to watch out for it. And it's closer in the family than closer in the inner circle. But you also have the fact that the police have now moved further down the river. So, like, is that a coincidence as well? So on the day that Nicola's body was found, Grizzly True Crime done a live stream. She started the stream around 2 p.m. that day. She said that the family and friends were watching and to be kind in the comments. And she said that about Paul's accounts being hacked. But we know that it was meant to have been the Pinterest account, but if you look at Mickey's post that she done, there was further stuff, but it wasn't that the account was hacked. The stuff was already there long before Nicola ever went missing. She points out where the body is found, and she says, so remember how Willow was running between the bench and the stile? Nicola could have walked this way and gone in after the weir because she's very smart. She could have, if she wanted to disappear, or maybe it's an accident, or maybe it's foul play. We still don't know, but if they believe it's an accident, she could have gone in past the weir where it becomes tidal, and then a body would be washed downstream like this. She said, I'm not here to conspire. All I'm going to say is the police have searched this area multiple times. Yes, they could have missed it. There's also the possibility, that someone put the body there. Now, if you know what I mean, we just don't know. We have to wait, for the autopsy report and the cause and manner of death. She talks about the police statement. that she had in the past suffered with some significant issues with alcohol and struggles, which had resurfaced over recent months as she went through the menopause. She says that she will say that the menopause, she doesn't know, but that would it be a main catalyst for a major stress? It can be that it's also with financial strain, so that could be a factor to consider. Someone called Roman says, please don't start with conspiracy that someone put her in the water. And Grizzly replies, well, family and friends are asking me to keep an open mind. So to keep an open mind, just to say they found her body in the water and the police always believe she fell in at the water, but they searched that area multiple times, they never found her. And even if it's a slim chance, did someone put her there recently? Sure, it's possible, but yes, that is about what I can say. She informs people of an update then that her body was found next to a lay-by by the road, and she was at the bottom of the river, and that the cause of death is currently unexplained. Somebody mentioned something in comments, and Grizzly replies, I think you missed the update that I've spoken to the family and friends, and they've been told that the police believe it's Nicola, even though the police can't just say that public. So this was between 2 and 3 p.m. that said she had this information that from the family and friends that it was Nicola's body. So she said she just asked friends and family if I have permission to just say it instead of tiptoeing around if they've been told that the police have told them that they found Nicola. So there's that. So you're getting some breaking news here with that very sad information. She said every single day she tries to clear up things, to keep it factual, to stop the misinformation, to stop the attacks on family and friends. I mean, on Friday, Paul Ansell's Pinterest account was hacked, and this follows, the police say, don't worry if you see their accounts active. We're going to be digging into it. So I don't know if, for some reason, I'm not blaming the police, I'm just saying, I wonder if maybe the two-factor, on authentication or something may have been turned off for a bit or something, and it made it a little more vulnerable. I don't know. People hacked his Pinterest account and they've started posting nude pictures of women on there so that they can frame him for doing stuff like that in a time of crisis. She said, I don't know what you guys think at this point. At this point, I'm thinking that the police must somehow know that she fell into the water right there. Like, what data do they have? That they thought that because we saw that there's no marks on the grass and they didn't find anything there, but they were convinced. So what do they have? How did they know that, right, that's what happened? I really hope that they will tell the whole story so we can understand, because this case was a mysterious vanishing. So also on the same day as Nicola's body was found, it was released that a message was sent to Sky News correspondent Inzam Rashid, who had been in contact with the family throughout the 3-week search. And Paul said, no words right now, just agony. We're all together. We have to be strong, he added. Now, no one forced him to send that message. And he had been using the media for the whole 3 weeks. So, of course, they were going to ask how he was. But he was probably embarrassed in front of Nicola's family that message was released. So he blamed the media for it. Hence the backlash from the family about the media selling stories. Moving on now to the 20th of February. A press conference is held where they confirm it was Nicola's body that was found. The police also read out a statement from the family of Nicola. And most of the statement was about Paul, about accusations against him, and about the media and that. And there was very little about Nicola, which the whole thing should have been about Nicola. It shouldn't have been anyone outside Nicola. Anyway, the statement reads, "Our family liaison officers have had to confirm our worst fears today. We will never be able to comprehend what Nikki went through in her final moments, and that will never leave us." Now, for me, that hit hard because they had assumed that Nicola had taken herself off and left them. "We will never forget Nikki. How could we? She was the centre of our world. She was the one who made our lives so special, and nothing will cast a shadow over that." So straight away, when they say cast a shadow over it, it goes straight on to our girls will get the support from the people who love them the most. And it saddened us to think that one day we will have to explain to them that the press and members of the public accused dear Dad of wrongdoing, misquoted and vilified friends and family. Now, I don't know what press they're talking about that accused their dad or accused Paul of wrongdoing. Do you know any press that done that? It goes on, "This is absolutely appalling and needs to stop. They have to be held accountable. This cannot happen to another family. We tried last night to take in what we have been told in the day, only to have Sky News and ITV making contact with us directly, when we expressly asked for privacy. They again have taken it upon themselves to run stories about us to sell papers and increase their own profit. It's shameful they have acted in this way. Leave us alone now." Now, these are not just random people. These are people that they have built up a rapport with over the 3 weeks that Nicola was missing. These are people that they had built up a relationship with and that used them for everything they wanted in the case. But earlier that day, between 2 and 3 p.m, on the day Nicola's body was found, this is the day before the statement that was released by the family, the family gave permission for a YouTuber to release that it was Nicola's body that was found. Now, is that not a bit hypocritical? It's like this statement is more about Paul than it is about Nicola. And to say about the media, well, they've used the media and got what they wanted, and now they're telling them to piss off. So they go on to say, "Do the press and other media channels and so-called professionals not know when to stop? These are our lives and our children's lives. To those who genuinely helped and supported us privately, we thank you." To me, that's another dig at them when they said to those who genuinely helped them, even though the media helped them the whole way through. It's like they really want the media to stop looking at it, stop talking about it. They want to silence them, even though they hadn't said anything bad about the family. The community support in St. Michael's, friends, neighbours and strangers, has been nothing short of heartening. Friends, you know who you are. Thank you. Our hearts truly break for others with missing loved ones. Keep that hope alive. Finally, Nikki, you are no longer a missing person. You have been found. We can let you rest now. We love you, always have, and always will. We will take it from here. Now we're on to the 21st of February. Grizzly True Crime does a live stream again. This time talking about the psychic who found Nicola's body. She starts off with welcoming people back to Grizzly True Crime. Today we're going to talk about Nicola Bulley case and who found her. For all you in chat already getting snarky and saying, didn't you hear the family, leave them alone? She says the family would love for the media to stop shoving things in their letterbox and standing on their doorstep and saying, how do you feel? She asks, do you feel they want us to forget all about the case, to never talk about it again? No, and everybody has questions still. And a post-mortem can take 6 weeks or longer. There's still answers and reports that will come out and things like that. So thank you for being here. If you don't like this content and it's not for you, just come back another time. She says, if you guys know me at all, I'm a major skeptic when it comes to psychics. And I've actually received a lot of horrible psychic visions in my inbox. Horrendous things. But she said that knowing the police and experts didn't find Nicola in the river, but a psychic did find her in the river, she found it interesting. So she thanks people for watching and says, what I wanted to say was, for everyone who is such a skeptic about psychics, Nicola's own family has spoken to lots of psychics. They are very kind of spiritual people. And I can sense from the friends that I'm in contact with that they're actually, they seem like they have a feeling of comfort, right, in knowing that, wow, okay, a psychic actually found her. And I'm so grateful for the psychic having actually found her. She doesn't understand why people are getting all flustered about it. She thinks it's amazing. And those skills can be developed over time. And she said, if it helps to find a person. So I just want to say that, they even had a dog psychic at the house, to try speak to Willow. I don't want to say it like that, just to try figure out what happened. I'm very grateful for that. And they can find comfort because at the end of the day, Nicola's family is the most important. So if you're wondering, did Jason get a call from somebody in the inner circle, it's quite possible. And it turns out it was perfect timing, even though he didn't know whose body it was. She says she feels herself that Peter Falden was used as a scapegoat. Skipping ahead now to the 13th of March, Grizzly True Crime puts out the CCTV footage, the actual video footage of Nicola leaving that morning. She thanks Paul and Paul's friend for giving her the CCTV footage. She hopes it dispels some of the rumours that are going on. On the 31st of May, Nadia Fell puts up another post. So many of them still around spreading lies, lies, lies. Lots of angry faces. Sick and tired of it now, but sadly it feels never ending. People say move on, but it's not that easy when you're reading awful things about your friends. It's just not acceptable at all. So many people need a punch in the face. She seems like a loudmouth and very aggressive. So on the 21st of June, close to the inquest, Nadia Fell puts up another post. So for Nikki's inquest, we all had to apply for a seat. Not one of us who knew Nikki and care and want to be there because we love and miss her have got a seat. Lots of angry faces. No bloody idea what system was used and how they have chosen people. But it is not fair. None of us will be there. So all you idiots saying the room will be full of her friends, you are wrong. We are so disappointed. 2 days after that, she realised she had made a mistake and says, so there must have been a glitch in the system, as myself and some others who wanted to be there at the inquest have now had an email that we have got a seat. This is such a relief. No doubt it's going to be tough, but I'm really glad we can be there. So over dramatic, when that was based on lies. She had got a seat and so did other friends. Now I just want to share this one when it was said about Nicola having to go the next day after the 10th of January because she had a head injury. Nadia Fell put it out in comments online that Nicola had told her that the dog had come in and dragged wet inside and that Nicola slipped on the tiles and banged her head. But I'm sure the fact that Nicola knew what Nadia was like with such a loud mouth that she probably wouldn't have told her that anyway, told her the truth. I'm not saying it's not the truth, but hearing it from Nadia, I don't know whether I'd believe it or not. Hearing it from somebody else maybe in the family, I'd probably believe it more. So this brings us back up to the inquest. I'm in no way saying Paul had anything to do with Nicola's disappearance. But what he'd done throughout the case was very strange. So I just want to do a bit of a recap, going by what we have learned between the 10th of January and Nicola's disappearance and all the way up to the inquest. First of all, Louise changed what she had said to the emergency health team. She said that Nicola didn't want to be around her children and that she didn't want to be here. Now, does that mean that information was given to her by Paul on the 10th of January, as Louise said at the inquest, that Nicola never ever confided in her about being suicidal? Well, that would mean that Nicola had never said those words to anyone else except to Paul. And that's according to him. According to everyone else, Nicola never thought of suicide. Now, I could be wrong, but it seems like Paul convinced Louise that Nicola left because of the January 10th incident. Now, how cruel would that be? I'm sure she feels enough guilt because of calling the ambulance and taking Paul's side. That will never leave her. But to make Louise think that her disappearance and eventual death had something to do with that, now that it really is cruel. Paul's statement at the inquest, referring to Nicola having not been drinking leading up to the day of her disappearance and the day of her disappearance, then why would police put her at the highest risk? Remember, we have never heard what he had told the police to convince them that she went into the river that day, because they certainly never produced any evidence to prove that. But remember, Rebecca Smith at the press conference, who seemed quite pissed off at how everything was going, well, she made sure to point out that following the information provided by her partner Paul, and based on a number of vulnerabilities, Nicola was graded as high risk. Even though Paul was the only one who thought she was suicidal, Nicola had not been drinking, and her anxiety and menopause were under control, and everyone said Nicola was in great form, and Paul had to go along with that the day before, as her family was witness to this. But somehow he felt the need to point out that Nicola was struggling to Anne-Marie Fletcher on the phone. Nicola had just been given a permanent position by Love Homes in Garstang. Her future looked great. Both of her children had activities for the next day on the Saturday, with one of them having a competition. That's why she arranged a play date for the other child. She showed no signs of suicide, only to Paul, and why did he think that? The day Nicola disappeared, Paul didn't stay at the river or go back that day to search for her. He went back the next day all right with Willow, but he didn't seem desperate to find her. But on the third day, he went to gather with the over 100 people on the Sunday, but went down a lane to search an abandoned house by himself. Now, why would he think Nicola would abandon them and leave Willow on her own and walk down the river path, across the bridge, past the roundabout, and go down a lane between Ivy Dean alpacas and the village hall, and be in an abandoned house, when everyone said, including him, that Nicola would never leave Willow? He knew he had to say that Nicola would never leave Willow, because there was witnesses, including family and friends, who would vouch for that. Paul was the one, through his friends, put obstacles in the way of the police to confuse them. He was the one that brought in Peter Falden and Mark Williams Thomas. When he got what he wanted out of Peter Falden, he wouldn't even answer the phone after that to him, after everything Peter Falden had done for him. And then there's Mark Williams Thomas. After one day of covering the inquest, nothing came from him about day 2 of the inquest. I don't even know if he was there that day, the day 2. But it was like it was a complete shut off. Now I'm wondering, because he was so close to the family that time, did he find out that the family was going to say what they said to the coroner about saying that it was accidental? And did he feel like it was just after hitting him that he was after being used? Speculation, of course, because I don't know what his reason was for not doing the second day of the inquest, but it is a very, very strange thing to happen. Paul is the one who used the media, including with a video of his own child, to gather sympathy. Paul is the one, through his friends, who used YouTube to attract TikTokers and YouTubers to investigate Rowan Water and the caravan park, and also distracting the police. Paul is the one who wanted the information out there about Nicola's vulnerabilities. Paul is the one who said Nicola was more organised that morning, painting a picture that she was planning to leave, when in fact Nicola was a planner and was used to being organised. He said himself he was up till 1 a.m, so was probably late up and wasn't there to help her. In fact, he said his part was putting the girls in the car and Willow in the boot. So that means Nicola just done exactly what she did every morning. Paul was the one who pointed that Nicola could sometimes be back at 11 if she went to the shops, through his friend to a YouTuber, when he faced backlash over his first interview. Paul was the one who changed that in the second interview, given 9:45 to 10 a.m, and then saying sometimes 10 a.m. to 10:20 a.m. if she got talking to someone. And then at the inquest, it was 10 a.m. to 10:20 a.m. Paul is the one who felt so concerned to ring his partner 6 times and message her on WhatsApp, "Are you lost?" when she was really only 20 minutes later than if she had been chatting to someone. But also through a friend, she sometimes went to a shop, which is further away. Paul is the one, after that short amount of time, felt the need to drive down to the village to find her. Why would he be keeping time on her? Paul was the one who said Nicola was a planner, and he was the spontaneous one in the relationship. So why would he be worried about timing Nicola if he was spontaneous? A person who is a planner and a person who is spontaneous having a relationship have to find a happy medium to work. But a planner with anxiety would find it hard to put up with a spontaneous partner and would actually increase said anxiety. Especially when you look at Paul's business ventures. Paul is the one, through Emma, that changed the idea that Nicola brought a ball with her. The words used, I don't believe, would have came from Nicola, as she loved Willow. Pictures were put up of Willow with the ball right up to when she had stopped posting on socials, which wasn't horribly long away from her disappearance. Paul never talked about Nicola being a fantastic partner. Paul was the one who went against police advice and done 2 interviews. The family statement that was released after the vulnerabilities mentioned that this caused some real challenges for Paul and the family, like painting Nicola as a nuisance and causing Paul hassle. Paul and his friends were the ones who pointed out that something was wrong and that the police had got it wrong. Paul was the one who kept Emma White close, right at the forefront of the search. The advantage of her organisation skills, her links to the media through family, her friendship to Dan Walker, and her access to local councillors through her family. Paul is the one who gave up on his partner so easily. After first saying he was 100% sure that she wasn't in the river, and then changing what he originally said, that Nicola puts the harness on Willow at the gate when they're ready to leave. Even though, how would she have been ready to leave after 18 minutes being on that conference call? And the conference call went on till 10:30. And then said Nicola must have put the phone down on the bench and turned the volume up, even though he heard several buttons were pressed. Then saying she must have went down the bank to put Willow's harness on and not questioning why. Why would he do that? Who was it that put the barrister their way, pro bono? And who convinced the barrister to say it was an accident? Did Paul convince the family to say accident so it wasn't put down as suicide, which it never was going to be put down as that anyway? Look, I could recap more about Paul's red flags, but we're after going through this now enough, and I'm sure you can all see the pattern throughout this video. But what I also want to say is that the family and friends blaming the press, media, social media, YouTube and TikTok need to take a long hard look at themselves, as it was them who created all the hype and pointed in certain directions and attracted all they received. Yes, you can get a lot of mad people out there, but no crazier than what they have created themselves. Now, I don't know what Paul's motive for the way he acted throughout Nicola's disappearance and the way he acted at the inquest, but nobody can deny it was very strange. To say you really know someone and that they would never do wrong. If you were to ask that very question to friends and family of someone who had done wrong, before they had found out that they knew the person had done wrong, they would probably say, no, that person is so good, they would never do anything wrong. I cannot get Nicola out of my head, and I know it is the same for many of you. And that gut feeling is telling us something is wrong. So I will be continuing to fight for justice for Nicola. And also remember that there are dangerous people still out there thinking they have gotten away with this, which makes it highly likely they will do it again. And I will be here, as will many others, if someone decides in the future to take it further and fight for justice for Nicola. The inquest was the proof I needed that Nicola did not have an accident or end her life. And thank you to Lancashire Police and Dr. James Adley and PC Thackeray for proving that. I'm sorry for my voice for the end of this video. My husband decided to take a week off work and brought the flu home with him. And when I said to him that, why did he make me sick like that? Because I was feeling all sorry for myself. He said, sharing is caring, and what is his is mine, and in sickness and in health and all that. He makes me laugh. Finally, I would like to thank Mickey, aka Michaela. She's done some brilliant work, and I'm looking forward to checking out her other work now that I have finished this video. I'll leave a link in the description for Mickey's content that you can find. And also I want to give a shout out to the beautiful Rustic Rach. I found her after she put up a post about Pandora's Box, who I really miss. I could listen to Rach all day, every day. She is warm and inviting, kind and sincere. And everything I have watched so far has made me smile, laugh and entertained. I really am looking forward to checking out all the rest of her content now. And I'm so glad I have found her. So could you please, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to her YouTube channel. And remember, sharing is caring. Also, I was delighted to see Eddie's EVB, his beautiful face yesterday. And so glad to hear that he has a new video coming. I'm really looking forward to that. I will leave links to all in the description. Thank you to everyone for all the love that I've received in the comment section. I really appreciate it. So goodbye for now. Be safe, be happy. Love, Irish Eyes.